Did you know that you could fit the United Kingdom into Australia 32 times over? Or that if you wanted to visit a new beach every single day in Australia, it would take you nearly 30 years without repeating? What about the fact that Australia is the lowest and flattest continent on Earth? Within the next 20 minutes, you'll learn 15 Australian geography facts you won't believe are true. Fact 15. Australia is the only country that covers an entire continent. Many people believe continents are always made up of multiple countries, and they all do except for Australia. It is the only continent entirely occupied by a single country. For some perspective, continents like Africa or Europe are divided into dozens of countries, but the Australian continent is a single sovereign nation, officially called the Commonwealth of Australia. This continent includes the mainland, the island of Tasmania to the south, and numerous smaller islands like Kangaroo Island and Christmas Island. If you were to look at a map, you'd see Australia sitting between the Indian Ocean to the west and the Pacific Ocean to the east. Australia covers a massive land area of about 7.7 million square kilometers, 2.97 million square miles. Yet, despite this immense size, Australia is the smallest of the world's continents, but also the largest island on the planet. A true geographical paradox. With that kind of land area, it shouldn't come as a surprise that Australia is among the largest countries in the world. Fact 14. Australia is the sixth largest country in the world by land area. When you translate 7.7 million square kilometers, that's about 5% of the world's total land area, making Australia the sixth largest country in the world by land area. Only Russia, Canada, China, the United States, and Brazil are larger. Just so you grab how massive it is, you could actually fit the entire United Kingdom into Australia 32 times over. In fact, if you were to start at Australia's westernmost point and travel to its eastern tip, you'd cover nearly 4,000 kilometers, almost the same as crossing the entire United States from coast to coast. And if you were to superimpose Australia on a map of Europe, it would cover nearly the entire continent, which is about 10 million square kilometers. That's how massive Australia's land area is. Its massive landmass also means Australia has an extraordinary variety of natural features. Fact 13. Australia has more beaches than any other country on Earth. With about 35,000 kilometers of coastline, Australia has one of the longest stretches of coast on the planet, longer than the entire circumference of the moon. To put it into perspective, if you started walking from Sydney and followed the shoreline all the way around the continent, you'd circle back after a journey that's longer than the distance from London to Buenos Aires and back. And it's not just about the coastlines. Australia is also home to over 10,000 beaches. That's more beaches than there are days in 27 years. If you wanted to visit a new beach every single day, it would take you nearly 30 years without repeating. Many people believe that countries like the United States or Brazil, with their famous coastlines, might rival Australia's beach count, but that's not true. Australia ranks number one in the world for the number of named beaches, with approximately 11,700 beaches along its coastline. This means Australia has more beaches than any other country on Earth. It's no wonder the majority of Australians live close to the coast. Fact 12. Most Australians live within 50 kilometers of the coast. Do you know that over 85% of Australians live within just 50 kilometers of the coast? To put this into context, the population of Australia is about 28 million. This means more than 22 million could reach the ocean in under an hour's drive. As a matter of fact, if you were to fly over a map of Australia at night, you'd see the lights of its cities and towns tracing the outline of the continent, hugging the shoreline almost everywhere except the vast, empty center. The interior, or outback as it's also called, remains sparsely populated, with a population density of less than one person per square kilometer. All major Australian cities, including Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth, are coastal, and together they account for nearly half the country's population. However, Australia's isolation extends beyond its population centers to its very borders. Fact 11. Australia has no land borders with any other country, only maritime neighbors. This is because Australia is both a country and a continent, completely surrounded by ocean. Unlike most countries that share land borders with neighbors, Australia's boundaries are defined by the seas around it. Its closest neighbors are separated by vast stretches of water, with maritime borders established through treaties with countries like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste, the Solomon Islands, New Caledonia, a French territory, Vanuatu, and New Zealand. These maritime boundaries extend into the Indian Ocean, Timor Sea, Arafura Sea, Torres Strait, Coral Sea, and the Pacific Ocean, marking Australia's exclusive economic zone, which covers over 8 million square kilometers, larger than its land area. Speaking of neighbors, many people confuse Australia with one of its closest maritime neighbors. Fact 10. New Zealand is not part of Australia. Many people mistakenly think of Australia and New Zealand as a single entity or confuse the two due to their proximity and shared cultural ties, but they are entirely separate sovereign nations. Geographically, New Zealand lies about 1,500 kilometers southeast of Australia across the Tasman Sea. If you were to fly from Sydney to Auckland, it would take roughly 3 hours, crossing a vast expanse of ocean that clearly separates the two. New Zealand consists mainly of two large islands, the North and South Islands, and numerous smaller ones, with a total land area of about 268,000 square kilometers, which is roughly 3.5% the size of Australia's landmass. Politically and administratively, New Zealand has its own government, currency, and legal system. Now that we've established Australia's oceanic boundaries and neighbors, let's look inland to discover where the continent experiences its regular snowfall. Fact 9. The Australian Alps regularly experiences snow. It is a common belief that it doesn't snow in Australia, but that's not entirely true. The Australian Alps regularly experience snow. As a matter of fact, they sometimes get more snow than the lower Swiss Alps. This mountain range stretches about 600 kilometers through southeastern Australia, crossing the states of New South Wales, Victoria, and the Australian Capital Territory. The Australian Alps are part of the Great Dividing Range, which is the third longest land-based mountain range in the world. Regardless of Australia's reputation for heat and arid conditions, the Alps receive significant snowfall each winter, supporting ski resorts like Thredbo, Perisher, and Falls Creek. Having explored Australia's snowy highlands, let's now turn our gaze to one of the world's most spectacular natural wonders located off its northeastern coast. Fact 8. The Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest living structure visible from space. Stretching over 2,300 kilometers along the northeast coast of Queensland, the Great Barrier Reef, composed of nearly 3,000 individual reefs and around 900 islands, is the largest living structure on Earth and is visible from space under certain conditions. This reef system supports an extraordinary diversity of marine life, including over 1,500 species of fish, 400 types of coral, and countless other organisms, making it one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. The reef's visibility from space is due to its immense size and vibrant colors, which contrast sharply with the deep blue of the Coral Sea. The Great Barrier Reef is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and an important part of Australia's natural heritage and economy, attracting millions of tourists annually. Fact 7. Australia is the lowest and flattest continent on Earth. Australia's average elevation is only about 300 meters, less than 1,000 feet above sea level. This unusually low topography is due to Australia's position near the center of the Indo-Australian tectonic plate, where there is little tectonic activity to create mountains or volcanic uplift. In fact, Australia is the only continent without any active volcanoes. The last known eruption occurred roughly 4,300 years ago at Mount Gambier in the southeast. The continent's driest regions cover more than two-thirds of its landmass, with deserts and semi-arid zones making up about 70% of the territory. To put this in context, Australia's dryness surpasses that of Africa, despite the Sahara Desert being larger. This is because Australia's rainfall is sparse and unevenly distributed, with about 50% of the land receiving less than 300 millimeters, 11.8 inches annually, and evaporation rates often exceeding rainfall by more than 20 times in central regions. Fact 6. The continent has numerous isolated islands. Tasmania, located about 240 kilometers, 150 miles south of the mainland, is the largest of these islands and is often referred to as the island state. Tasmania's highest peak, Mount Osa, reaches 1,617 meters, 5,305 feet, making it a significant elevation compared to the low-lying mainland. Further afield lies Macquarie Island, situated roughly halfway between Australia and Antarctica, about 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles southeast of Tasmania. This sub-Antarctic island is volcanic in origin and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, known for its unique wildlife and harsh weather conditions. But did you know that Tasmania was once connected to the mainland? You see, during periods of lower sea levels in the last ice age, Tasmania was connected to the Australian mainland via land bridges, allowing the migration of plants and animals. Macquarie Island, on the other hand, was never connected to the mainland due to its volcanic origin and location on an oceanic ridge. Fact 5. The Australian continent was once connected to Antarctica millions of years ago. The Australian continent was once part of the supercontinent Gondwana, which included Antarctica, South America, Africa, and India. Around 180 million years ago, these landmasses began to break apart due to plate tectonics. Australia and Antarctica remain connected much longer than other Gondwanan fragments, only fully separating about 45 million years ago. This prolonged connection explains why Australia shares some ancient flora and fauna traits with Antarctica, such as the presence of certain fossilized plants and the origins of its unique biodiversity. To put this into geographical context, the continent's slow northward drift, moving just a few centimeters per year, has taken it from a position near the South Pole to its current location between 10 degrees and 45 degrees south latitude. This journey from polar to more temperate and tropical zones has influenced Australia's climate evolution and the development of its ecosystems. The separation also led to the formation of the Southern Ocean and the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which isolated Antarctica climatically and contributed to its ice sheet formation. Speaking of biodiversity, Fact 4. Australia has some of the most venomous animals on Earth. Australia is infamous for its venomous snakes, including the inland taipan, widely regarded as the most venomous snake in the world, whose venom is potent enough to kill multiple adult humans with a single bite. The coastal taipan and eastern brown snake are also among the top 5 most venomous snakes on Earth. But it's not just snakes. Australia has the box jellyfish and the irukandji jellyfish, both of which have venom that can cause excruciating pain and even death in humans. The funnel web spider, particularly the Sydney funnel web, is another deadly arachnid native to the region. These animals have evolved venom as both a defense and hunting mechanism in response to Australia's competitive and resource-scarce environments. Beyond venomous creatures, Australia's fauna includes formidable predators like the saltwater crocodile, the largest living reptile, capable of ambushing prey with incredible speed in northern coastal waters. Fact 3. Australia houses the longest fence in the world. You might think the Great Wall of China is the longest man-made structure ever, but Australia's dingo fence is actually much longer, about 5,614 kilometers, 3,488 miles. That's roughly like stretching a fence across parts of eastern Australia from Queensland through New South Wales to South Australia. The fence was originally built in the 1880s to keep dingoes away from sheep grazing areas because dingoes were attacking livestock. Over time, it was extended and maintained for this purpose. The fence is made of wire mesh and posts, with some sections electrified, and it's checked regularly. To give you an idea of how important this fence is, it costs about $10 million each year to maintain. The fence also affects the environment. On one side, dingoes help control populations of other animals, but on the other side, without dingoes, some species like rabbits multiply excessively and cause damage to the land. Fact 2. Australia has the largest sand island in the world. Fraser Island, located off the southeastern coast of Queensland, is the largest sand island in the world, stretching about 122 kilometers, 76 miles, long and between 7 to 25 kilometers wide. The island's landscape is shaped by a series of huge sand dunes, some reaching up to 240 meters, about 800 feet high. These dunes are part of the world's longest and most complete sequence of coastal dune systems, with some layers of sand dating back more than 700,000 years. The dunes are constantly changing shape by wind and rain, forming U or V-shaped parabolic dunes that slowly stabilize over time as plants grow to hold the sand in place. But perhaps what makes Fraser Island truly unique is that it supports tall rainforests growing directly on sand dunes, a rare phenomenon worldwide. The island also has about 40 perched freshwater lakes that sit above the groundwater, held in place by layers of sand and organic matter. In fact, Fraser Island contains half of the world's perched freshwater dune lakes, with crystal clear water that looks like gems scattered across the island. And finally, Fact 1. Australia is home to the largest single property in the world. Located in the heart of South Australia's outback and covering a staggering 23,677 square kilometers, Anna Creek Station is the biggest single property in the world. This property is so big that you could fit many cities and towns inside its boundaries and still have plenty of room to spare. It's a huge farm dedicated to raising cattle, but unlike farms you might be familiar with, this cattle station operates in one of the driest and harshest environments on Earth. The outback is known for its extreme heat, low rainfall, and sparse vegetation, so raising cattle here is no easy task. Because of these tough conditions, Anna Creek needs to be enormous to support enough cattle to make the operation viable. The land is mostly flat, covered with red soil, spinifex grasses, and saltbush, which are hardy plants that survive in dry climates. Water is scarce, so the station relies on underground water sources called bores, which pump water to the surface to keep the cattle hydrated. If you enjoyed these facts, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. For more geographical facts like these, watch our earlier video, 25 U.S. Geography Facts Your Teacher Got Wrong. Trust me, you'll be amazed. Tap your screen right now to watch. Thanks for watching.